Okay then my friends, so hopefully if you're taking this course, you already know a little bit about asynchronous code. You might be from a JavaScript background, for example, and you could be used to working with things like promises, async and await. And asynchronous code in Flutter is very, very similar. Remember, asynchronous code represents an action that starts now and finishes sometime in the future. An example of this could be interacting with an API endpoint or a database or something to get some data. So we'd start the request, but it doesn't finish straight away because it might take a second or two to complete that request to go out and get the data. So it finishes sometime after the initial request is made once we get that data back. In the meantime, our code should not stop until that request is complete and the data comes back. Asynchronous code should be non-blocking so that while the request is being made, the rest of the code in our file could carry on. So to handle asynchronous code in Flutter, we're going to use a combination of asynchronous functions, the await keyword, and something called futures. Now, async and await are very similar to async and await in JavaScript. We're going to see that in a minute. And futures are a type of data very similar to promises in JavaScript. So if you know all about those, then this is going to be a breeze for you. So then let's do a little example of asynchronous code in action. So what I'm going to do is create a function which will return nothing, so it will be a void function. This function will be called getData, and this function inside here would be responsible for some asynchronous code like getting some data. Now we're not going to use a third-party API or some kind of database to actually get real data at the minute. For now, what I'm going to do is simulate requests by using some kind of delays, because at the end of the day, it's going to take maybe 2 seconds to get some data from a server somewhere. We're just going to simulate that time it's going to take by using a delay, and we can create a delay inside the Dart language. So let's just do a little comment down here to say we're going to simulate a network request for a username from some kind of database or something. So to do that, we'll come down here and we'll say future.delayed, which is a function. And this is basically going to say, okay, use the future object, and we'll see more about futures shortly. But we're going to use a method on that object called delayed, and this is going to trigger some kind of delay. Now this takes 2 arguments. The first argument is going to be a duration, and for that we use a duration object. And inside here we can specify how many seconds we want this delay to be for. So I'll just say 3, for example. And then the second argument is going to be a function which fires once those 3 seconds are up. So this duration object, like I said, is just going to give us 3 seconds basically. It's a built-in class in Dart that allows us to specify a specific duration. We're passing that duration to this delayed method right here, and therefore it's going to wait for 3 seconds and then fire this callback function. It's a bit like set timeout in JavaScript. So what we're going to do in here is just then print the name that we get back. Let's just say it was Yoshi. So now we have this function. What we could do down here is call this function inside init state. So when this state object is first created, then it's going to run init state, which is going to call this getData method. Then it's going to do this little delay right here, which is simulating a network request, right? It's going to take 3 seconds to do. And then finally, we're going to print this. So let me now call this getData from init state. Now we need to open this run panel so we can see this down here, and I'm going to save, and what I'll do is go back to the home page first of all, then I'll go to edit location again so that we first make up the widget, and this is going to run. So edit location, if we wait 3 seconds now, then we should see Yoshi. Cool, so this works, right? So nothing special about this at the minute, we're just kind of simulating a request. But the cool thing is this is non-blocking code. So say for example I add a print statement down here, and I just print out something like, I don't know, statement, it doesn't really matter, and then save it. What I'm going to do is go back to this page over here and open up this console again, then go back to this edit location widget. You can see statement gets printed first. So even though this comes after this, we're not waiting for this to finish until the code can carry on. The code carries on even though this duration has not finished, and this is exactly how an asynchronous request to go and get some data would work. We'd start that request, but it's not going to block the code. It's not going to wait until that request comes back to then print out this statement. However, sometimes we need it to wait. For example, say we make this network request for a username and we get back the username, which is Yoshi. Then we want to make a second request, and that second request needs this value. So in the API endpoint that we use for the second request, maybe to get a biography for that user, we need to use this value we get back. So we can't make the second request before the first request has finished. So we do need to wait. Now, if we were to copy this and paste it down here, let me just put a comment at the top of this one. So I'm going to say simulate network request to get bio of the username. Okay, so we need the username to get the biography. We might pass it into the API endpoint or something like that. Now, if we print down here, vegan, musician, and egg collector, that would be the biography, right? So what I could do is save this and go back over here and click edit location, and let's just change this one to 2 in fact and save it again so it's not quite as long. This one takes 2 seconds, this takes 3. Let's go to edit location. Notice we get statement first because it's non-blocking, then we get this vegan, musician, and egg collector, and then finally we get Yoshi. So if this depends on this, then this kind of code won't work because we're still starting this before this is even complete. So how do we combat this? How do we make this a little more synchronous? So we have to do this and wait for this to complete before we start this next line. Well, we'd use a combination of an asynchronous function. So we'd say up here, this is an async function, and we do that after the parentheses and before the curly brace. So we're now saying, look, this is going to be an asynchronous function with asynchronous code inside it. And then we also use the await keyword, which would be this thing right here. So now we're saying, okay, right here, I want you to wait right here until this is done to start the next line. Now, what I could do is save this, and if we open up the run again, then if we go to this edit location again, notice now that we have to wait until this first one's done. We get Yoshi first of all, then we get statement because obviously the code carries on and this is non-blocking, it takes 2 seconds, so it carries on to here. But then after 2 seconds, we get this at the bottom as well. So now we are waiting. Now, what if at the bottom we want to wait for this one as well? So say we want to output the name that we get back and also the bio at the bottom. Well, we could then place the await keyword right here. Now, the good thing about this await keyword is that we can actually assign a value to it. So say, for example, when we make this request to some kind of API endpoint, ultimately it's going to return a string value to us. We can simulate that by returning instead of printing here, and I'm going to return Yoshi. So we return this value now. Now, what we could do is say, okay, well now we'll store that value in a string variable, and I'll call this username and set it equal to this. So now we're simulating this request right here. Let me just move this down and move this in so we have more room. We're simulating this request to get the username, and then it's returning this username, which is a string. Now imagine this was an API endpoint which returns this and it takes 3 seconds. It's the same kind of thing. We're saying here, right, I want you to wait for this to finish before you move on. So don't go any further than this. Once you have that value, then carry on and assign it to this variable. So now Yoshi will be stored inside this variable and the code will continue. And we can do something similar here. We can say string, and we'll call this something like bio and set that equal to this. And then we'll go out and we'll make this request right here. We need to return this instead of printing it, like so. And this request will take 2 seconds. We're going to wait for it to complete. When it returns a value, then we assign that value to bio and we carry on. And down here, we could output the username now and the bio. So I could say the username dash and the bio, like so. Okay, so let's try this out now. I'm going to save it. I'm going to open up this tab over here and then go back. And then I'm going to click edit location again. So click that. And we should wait for the first one first of all, Yoshi, then wait for the second one, which takes 2 seconds, and then finally just print out this at the bottom. This is the only time we're printing now. So now we are waiting for each request to complete before we move on. And this is really good when one request depends on another. If they didn't depend on each other, we wouldn't need to do this. But since this one would depend on this, then we can use await to do that. And since at the bottom we need to wait until both of these values are returned, then we can await this one as well. Now, the really good thing is that because we've said this is asynchronous over here, then this is not going to block any other code inside our file over here. So say, for example, we get data, which is an asynchronous function, and underneath that we want to say print, and then we'll just say something like, hey there, and save it. So when this runs, it's not going to wait for this to complete before this runs, because it's outside the scope of this asynchronous function. We're not using a wait in front of this here, we're just using it in front of these things. So it's going to start this is going to do its own thing, and then in the meantime, the code can carry on down here. So once more, let me just preview this. I'm going to save it and then open up the run panel, and I'm going to go back and then edit location again. And we can see, hey there, prints. It doesn't wait for all of this get data stuff to finish, and then eventually we get this stuff when it's complete. So hopefully that kind of explains asynchronous code a little bit to you, because we are going to be using this kind of stuff in the future when we actually use a third-party API to get time information. And we're going to start that probably in the next 2 lessons or so. First of all, I want to talk about Flutter packages, because to make these network requests, we're going to use a package which is really going to help us. So we're going to talk about packages in the next video.